Hello everyone, welcome back to the Confident Parenting Podcast, or welcome if this is the first time seeing me. My name is Julie. I'm an occupational therapist, a mom coach, a mom of 3 little kids, and here on this channel we talk about a diverse range of topics, I like to think. Usually things that I'm having issues with or problems that I've had that I've either found solutions to or I'm working through, and I feel like as a middle-aged mom, is that how I would describe myself? I'm not sure. I'm not a super young mother, so my oldest child is 9, but I'm also not a spring chicken anymore, you know what I mean? But as someone going through this sort of middle life, I come across mundane issues that take up a lot of space in my brain, and so I like to share about them. So today we're going to be talking about the different layers of organization and decluttering your home, because if you don't understand these two concepts, then you're always going to struggle with clutter in your house. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed or liked or shared my videos or left me a comment. Those are the best, because then I can learn more about what you like and learn who you are and interact with you, and we can go back and forth in the comments. And I just really appreciate it, especially when you're starting something kind of new, something that's very small. You're pretty convinced no one is actually watching. It's really lovely to see the community growing, even if it's growing slowly, that's okay. And to have that feedback from people, it's just through a screen, it's really nice and encouraging and helps me continue going at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon right before a weekend when I know it's going to be hectic and all I want to do is take a nap. But I'm excited and energized to be here for the people. So, as I said, there are layers to keeping your home tidy and clutter-free, and I want to talk to you about these 2 layers specifically and help you understand what has been really beneficial to me, because I feel like if you're struggling with decluttering your home or keeping your home tidy and organized, if you struggle to understand this concept, or if you've never heard of this concept of organizational layers or cluttering layers, it's very hard to be able to stay on top of your home, because it just feels like one big overwhelming blob. So let me explain how the layers work. So I consider the first layer to be more of a superficial layer. This is when you think about clutter on surfaces, a high traffic drawer or cabinet that you open, like something you use on a daily basis. Maybe the laundry hasn't been put away, the dishes haven't been put away. There's just kind of just crap kind of everywhere. Just, your kids have dumped their backpacks and their shoes are out, or your husband has left his clothes and you haven't had time to pack up the craft that you're making for some kind of school, birthday party, whatever. This is just your surface level clutter that we all deal with. And I really view this as day-to-day cluttering or decluttering tasks, I guess. Just, removing clutter from surfaces and getting that area sorted out. So that for us, and for me specifically, looks like doing a load of laundry every single day, washing the laundry, drying the laundry, folding the laundry. I know folding has become like a swear word online because everyone gets bins and just throws their kids' stuff in there. But I'm still old school and I like to fold things. I don't know. It's just a habit right now. Anyway, folding and then putting the clothes away. That's where people typically really struggle. They have nicely folded piles, or they just have piles of clean laundry that's dried and everything and washed, but it is not in its home. And then also things, the same goes for dishes, washing, drying, putting them away. Things that have homes, maybe backpacks, shoes, lunch boxes, paper, clutter from your kids coming home from school with artwork. These things need a place to go. But this is like your daily influx of things that can cause clutter, your superficial clutter, your first layer of clutter. And it's something that we have to stay on top of. And if you don't regularly address this, you're just living in what feels very overwhelming, surrounded by paper, boxes, just, all kinds of containers and things. And it's difficult to kind of really think. And I really feel that you need to be tackling this level of clutter first before we can go to the next layer. Because if you can't really just do the basic stuff like putting your own laundry away, then how are you going to deal with the deep clutter that is hiding the back of a closet or underneath the sink or in the garage. Heaven forbid we go through that. In my mind, maybe it's a chicken and egg. Like, what do you deal with first? Do you deal with the clutter that when you open a cabinet, things come rushing out at you? Do you deal with the garage, like the deep maze that you find yourself in, or the attic, or wherever you keep storage stuff under the bed? Or do you deal with the day-to-day clutter? I kind of feel like if you've lived with a lot of deep clutter, second layer clutter, like hidden behind cabinets and drawers and things, you can probably live with that another day. And dealing with the surface level clutter first is very helpful. I also think that it teaches you how to declutter, and it gives you the confidence that you can do it. So if you can take one load of laundry and put it away, you could probably put away the dishes. You could probably declutter a drawer, so it almost gives you the confidence and the skills that if you can clear a surface and clear your kitchen counter, you can probably start to clear other things. So I think that because I believe organization is a skill and decluttering is a skill, you can learn it. And it's good to start off with something, if you're intimidated, something that's a little bit easier and something you can do before you start tackling the deeper stuff. Something you also have to remember is that your brain is trying to keep you safe. So when your brain says to you, oh, no, I'm not going in that garage. I'm not looking under the bed. I'm not reaching into the back of that closet. When your brain says that to you, it's trying to keep you safe, because on some level you feel intimidated by that. You feel overwhelmed, which is totally understandable. I don't really think we're designed to live in the sensory overload. I don't think we're designed to live in so much mess, and your brain is trying to keep you safe. For me personally, and I've shared this before, I don't operate well when things are decluttered. I don't like tasks to be open. Like, I don't like to have half of the laundry folded. I'll just fold all of it. I don't like to have like the kitchen counter 95% decluttered and then there's like a little bit left over. Sometimes that happens, but I don't like it. I think we're programmed to want to open something and close it. Like there is science behind that. It's like the closed loop method or something. Our brain likes to finish a project. We get some rush when that happens. At least I definitely do. I have one of those brains. And also just, I think because the world is so crazy and there's just so much grabbing our attention, having a nice, serene, calm place is very soothing to us. That's why if you go and look at houses to buy, or if you look in a magazine for furniture or something, it's always going to look beautiful and clear. The surface is going to be so clear. There's going to be nothing to declutter. It's going to be so easy to clean. That's because that's the aesthetic that we want, that we gravitate towards, that we aspire to. Keep that in mind, that your brain is going to try and keep you safe. You're going to assume that tackling that closet, that drawer, that cabinet is going to take hours, and you're never going to be able to declutter this house. And so therefore, why even bother? Because your brain's trying to keep you safe. When in reality, it could be a lot less time than you think. I have spoken about my method for decluttering many times in the past, and I will maintain it forever. I feel like people declutter backwards. They are always trying to discard things, whereas we should be considering, what do we actually have space for? What do we really have real estate for? So if I was to declutter a drawer, I would take everything out of the drawer. Now bear in mind, it's one drawer that I'm talking about. I'm not saying take out everything out of your kitchen and like dump it somewhere. No, that is where your brain is going to be like, no, that is way too much. I'm talking about one drawer. I would take everything out, and then I would specifically choose what needs to go back in there in a reasonable fashion that can comfortably fit, where if I opened that drawer, I could see exactly what's in there, and I could open and close it very easily. Maybe there's a little bit of extra space for something else to come in or out. Only then would I allow for more things to go back in the drawer if there was space. Whereas people usually look at an overwhelming pile of junk or things, and then they try and get rid of the things that they don't feel like they need anymore, versus prioritizing what do they actually want to keep, and then if there's space, introducing more things in. Also, by doing that, by putting back all the things that you know you're not going to get rid of, that you know you want to keep, you have a much smaller pile of things to go through to declutter. So it's just less decisions. So I always maintain that is the way, a good way to declutter, if the traditional way of just like choosing things to declutter isn't working for you. Obviously, personally, in real life, when I'm walking around and I see something, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if we really need this. I go and declutter it. I always have some kind of bag or bin or box just kind of an open-ended box waiting to have things in there, and then once I have enough, I'll go and drop it off. But typically, I've also had a lot of practice, but typically I recommend to people, and now my dog is barking, that's not helpful. I recommend to people that they should choose what they only have space for. 1 second. Also, if you're struggling with letting things go, which I go through periods of this for sure, then I have everything in a box, in a holding pattern. I keep it there for a while, typically like a few weeks, also while I'm like adding to it. And then if I still don't need it, I will declutter it, or if I need to take something out of it. I don't know if I've ever taken something out of a box that I've put there aside in a waiting pattern to be decluttered. I don't think I ever have. And there are things I go back and I'm like, should I have let that go? And I just think to myself, well, I survived totally fine without it before I got it. And I haven't used it in months or years, which is why it's in that box in the first place. Or I don't think I'm going to have a reason to use it going forward. So why do I still need it? Then another myth that I run into all the time is that I just do not have time to do that deep clutter, right? To go and do that second level of decluttering. And I want to give you a practical example in my life to show you that this is not true. So I did this very recently. My husband travels a lot for work. I've spoken about this. I've really complained and moaned about this, but I've spoken about this a lot, that he is away. And most of the time, or for the most part, I don't like that. I don't want him to travel. It upsets our routines, the whole thing. The kids aren't as happy, blah, blah, blah. And it's just absolutely exhausting for me. It can be. But I'm trying to change my narrative. I'm trying to reform myself and do better, because this is the reality. My husband works in one place, we live in another, and I want to be here to support him so that he can do well in his job, because he's caring for us as a family, etc. You know the deal. But if you have ever parented on your own with any number of children, you know that it is always nicer to have an ally and to have someone there with you. But anyway, one of the pros or the advantages, maybe the only one, of him not being at home is that usually my evenings are a little less busy, because I can't go out because there's no one here to stay with the kids, and he's not here for me to chat to, or not that we really watch shows together, but if we were to watch something, we would only watch it in the evening, and also maybe we would tend to do dinner a little bit later if he was there, and all the things are happening. And there's just something different when you're left on your own to kind of, what would you do by yourself if you're on your own? The other thing is I can only really be on my own if my children are sleeping. Now that my older ones can read and kind of do their own thing, it's really my little one. So once I get my little one to go to sleep, and this is what I did very recently, I put my 3-year-old to bed. That can range, if you know, you know. And then my older ones, I think, were reading, or the one went to sleep. So I had a bit of sort of free time, and probably like an hour and a half, because this is probably like 8 o'clock by the time I get everybody settled in bed, and I don't really want to go to bed past kind of 10. I don't really want to be doing anything active past 9:30. So let's say I have an hour and a half to myself. Honestly, this is the best time of day for me when I'm alone. I can regenerate. My kids are in bed, so hopefully they're not going to wake up anytime soon. I don't have little babies that are going to wake up 2 hours later, typically. I don't want to jinx myself here. And so this is like the most glorious time, contrast to the mornings that I find stressful, but we're changing the narrative. Anyway, so I had an hour or so to myself. I put on a podcast that I was listening to, and I did a bunch of different things. Some of it was decluttering, some of it was organizing, some of it was preparing for my future self. But I did a lot in an hour. I think I packed the car for the next day for school. I decluttered a bunch of things out of a cabinet that I'd been thinking about. I put all of my donations into the boot of my car. I wrapped a bunch of Christmas presents. I wrapped a bunch of birthday presents for upcoming parties that we're going to. I basically just took the time to prepare for my future self. And if I was to just go through my junk drawer or something, it would have taken me like 15 minutes. I did go through a few drawers and cabinets here and there, put together a bunch of things, put them in the car, and honestly, it was a great hour. I spent time investing in my home, investing in myself, investing in my sanity in terms of just making things easier for me. Like when we have all these birthday parties coming up, just grab and go. We have a gift, we have a card, we're ready to rock. It's like it just changes your whole mindset to be just a little bit more organized, and also to chip away at that second layer of decluttering. Oh my goodness. I'm sure you can hear that. Hold on. I don't know how much this mic will pick up of the construction and chaos that is happening in my house. So I've just closed the door and I'm praying for the best that it can't really hear all what I'm hearing, but it is making me distracted. But anyway, now that I've made decluttering such a part of my identity, habits, routines, I don't have this sabotage of my brain telling me that it's going to take hours and days. I don't even think about the bigger picture. I really just take it in blocks. Like I think about decluttering one drawer for 10 minutes. And then if I have time, I'll declutter a cabinet for 10 minutes. And the reality is, at least for me, I'm not typically taking everything out. I'm just going through one or two things and just checking in on there. Maybe I'm looking at the medicine cabinet, seeing what is expired, bathroom. I'm not doing anything like wild, but over time that really accumulates, and before you know it, you've kind of gone through a lot of the stuff in your home that you may have been avoiding or haven't looked at in many, many, many months. And I would encourage you that once you have tackled your junk drawer, and then you've tackled the bathroom cabinet, and then you've tackled under the bed, that's when you start to think about, maybe I can tackle a little bit of the garage, or maybe I can go in there and develop a game plan of when we're going to tackle this together. Maybe we're going to group in a buddy and we're going to do it together. That often makes it a lot easier, like an accountability partner for decluttering for your home, boot camp for your home. Your brain starts to learn that it's not the end of the world, and that actually you get such a rush when things are opening so nicely, when things look so organized. It's just the best feeling, and it's kind of like exercise, right? Then you go and get that runner's high and you're like, oh, okay, I will do that again. Also, just pairing it with your favorite tunes or podcast or audiobook is my number one tip always. I don't know why anyone wouldn't do that, because it just distracts you just enough to like get you going. And then when you do need to really think and make decisions, obviously you can stop. You don't have to listen to something, but it just helps you get started, and that's always the hardest part. I've just learned that when there are things that I find hard to do or that I don't want to do, breaking it down into as small a chunk as possible is the only way that my brain is going to let me do this. So, for example, I don't like editing videos a ton. I can and I will, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But if I just tell myself I'm just going to edit for 5 minutes or just for 10 minutes, then I'm much more likely to edit a whole video. You know what I mean? And the same with decluttering. If I just tell myself I am going to go through one drawer, my sock drawer, and go through things, or my kids' dress up drawer or something like that, and I just go with the flow and don't overthink it so much, I don't get in my way, and then I'm much more likely to do it. So in conclusion, remember that there are at least 2 layers to cluttering: superficial layer, deep layer, and within that deep layer, you can go down a rabbit hole. Start off with the superficial layer. Get your home in running order, ticking over. Do all the stuff that you need to be on top of every single day. And then when you have a pocket of time, but a pocket, like a little bit, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you're getting ready to go to bed, or it's the end of the day, end of the weekend, everyone's asleep, and you're in the mood for it, go and tackle something small. Get yourself used to it. Get your brain feeling safe about making these decisions. Don't overthink it. Remember, with decluttering, probably could get it back if you really, really, really had to, unless it's something sentimental, which I'm not advocating that you declutter anything super sentimental, but just your general stuff, and just focus on the outcome of like how incredible it feels when you're living in a clutter-free, organized house, because it's honestly the best feeling to be able to find your keys, to know where everything is. There's a reason why, at least in my family, my children are always asking me where things are, because 99% of the time I know where they are, because I have cultivated our home in a way that things make sense, like things go together. So even if I don't actually consciously remember where something is, I think about where I would probably put it, and most of the time it's there, which is kind of wild, because it's like my past self put this in a logical place so my future self could find it. It's kind of wild. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing, giving it a thumbs up if you did, so I can make more organization content. I'm kind of going back and forth between different kinds of topics that I enjoy talking about and different challenges that I'm experiencing in my life. But I also want to be here to help you guys organize, declutter, think about how you run your homes in a different way, because it's honestly been absolutely life-changing for me. So I hope I can share that with you. And with all that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye.